So in our marriage, you've been very explicit with me of like letting me know what you like. Like, hey, don't shave your chest. Don't shave your beard. You let me know what turns you on. So it's very clear for me as a man. Perfect example, right now I'm a little bit bigger. I've been eating a little bit more food. You like me fuller. You know, you're into that.
And the response is beneficial to both of
And
us.
the response is beneficial because it's like now when you look at me, you're just more into me. And I think that's important in a marriage, like communicating that stuff. Like, what are you into? What turns you on? What do you like? And the more that you guys are on the same page and understand this, the more physical intimacy is just a natural part of the process.
And so with that, there's two levels of responsibility. A, you have the responsibility to communicate what you like. That is your responsibility, and your partner cannot read your mind. Now, the second level of responsibility is if your partner communicates that to you, you need to make an effort to now do that. Welcome to the Vow Factor podcast. We are Richard and Haley Mujica. We have been married a little over a decade, got 4 kids. You know the deal. You've been here before.
Yes.
So this whole podcast is about marriage. We want to challenge the cultural narrative about marriage, make people want to get married, make people want to stay married, make people enjoy being married. Our tagline, as of thanks to ChatGPT this week, is building a marriage you love coming home to. And I just think that is beautiful and everything that we want for our listeners. So we're so excited that you guys are here to hang out with us for the next hour or so. Today's topic is going to be intimacy, which I'm super excited about and a tiny bit nervous about. And it's tough because I want to be as vulnerable and honest and open with people as is helpful. But, you know, as I've said on the show before, I also think that our marriage bedroom is very sacred, and I hold that very, very close.
100%.
And, you know, I always tell Richard, I'm the only person in the world that gets to see him in that capacity, and I hold that very, very tenderly. So, obviously, I want to be very respectful of our marriage, but also open and vulnerable enough to be helpful. So we're going to kind of navigate that as we go. But it's going to be a fun one, and we're gonna dive into it.
Oh, it's always super fun. Let's be
fun.
honest here.
So before we start, I didn't tell Richard this. I'm springing this on you.
You're going to spring. What do you got here?
Okay. So I'm a huge fan of Dr. John Deloney, right?
Oh my gosh.
Love
She's
him.
been listening to Dr. John Deloney nonstop.
I love Dr. John.
I'm getting a little concerned.
But he does something called Questions for Humans, and he's got a whole bunch of different decks, but he has an intimacy deck. Okay. So I ordered it just for this podcast. And to open the podcast, we are going to start with a couple Questions for Humans intimacy cards.
Interesting.
So I'm going to draw 2 for you. You're going to draw 2 for me.
Okay. Let's see.
And we're going to start the show that way.
Luck of the draw. What if I don't want to answer it?
You got to answer it.
Truth or dare?
Truth or dare.
So what am I pulling a card for myself?
No, you're pulling one and you're going to ask me.
I'm going to ask you. Okay. So you ready?
Yep.
Is your sex drive more responsive, meaning you like someone else to get things started, or is it more spontaneous? Responsive or spontaneous? Responsive meaning you like someone else to get things started.
I would definitely say responsive. Would you agree?
I would 100%
Majority
agree.
of the time, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so there's number 1.
There's number 1. Okay.
You learned a fun fact today. Hey, let me.
I'm asking you now.
You read it. Okay, yeah.
Okay. What? Oh gosh.
This is intense, huh?
Oh no.
Is this a skipper?
Okay.
Is
No.
this a skipper?
What's something you would never do in real life but like to think about? You know what? That's a skipper.
That's a skipper.
We're gonna skip that.
Yeah.
Would you rather I give you a back massage, a foot massage, or some alone time?
A back massage, a foot massage, or alone time? I would say alone time.
Really?
Yeah, for sure. Because in that alone time, well, we could do a back massage and have time together. I don't know. I
No,
think
this is like I leave you alone, like not alone time with me. You by yourself.
Oh, me by
like,
myself.
what's the best thing I could give you? Alone time by yourself, a foot massage, or a back massage?
Oh, back massage then.
Okay. I was gonna say, I didn't think that was
I thought
the
alone
answer.
time meant like us.
Okay.
Yeah. So back massage. Oh,
A back
that's
massage.
absolutely.
I was surprised by that answer.
2-hour minimum back massage.
Okay. I don't think my hands
You know
can
I
handle
love
it.
my back
He
massages.
does.
Okay. List these turnoffs in order from bad to worse.
Bad to worse. Okay.
Okay. Bad breath, on the phone, unshowered, unshaven. We know that's not it. And we should talk about that. Too talkative.
Oh gosh. Okay, so I'm gonna say
What's the worst?
bad breath is the worst.
Okay, bad breath is the worst. What's the second worst?
Let me see the card. I can't remember all of them.
Unshowered.
bad breath on the phone, unshowered, unshaven, too talkative. So I'm going to say bad breath is the worst.
Mm-hmm.
On the phone is maybe next.
Okay.
Too talkative is next, but that's not ever you.
Yeah.
Unshowered is after that, and then unshaven is after that.
So basically, you want me with a lot of hair and smelling very scented.
Fun fact.
Is that what you
I do not think, I think that manscaping is the worst thing to happen to men ever. I think men need to leave their chest hair and their armpit hair and their leg hair and their arm hair alone.
Let me ask you
Facial
this.
hair, I love it all.
Let me ask you this. How long is too long for a man not to shower?
I also really happen to like the way my husband smells. It's a weird thing about me.
What's the
I could
answer?
smell him all day.
How long could I go without a shower and you not be bothered?
I don't know. It could probably be a pretty long time.
Oh my God.
Anyways,
That's not
okay,
good.
last question.
I know I could grow my beard forever.
Okay. Oh, I would love that. Okay. Which chore that I do is the hottest? Think mowing the lawn, washing the dishes, putting the kids to bed, etc. I don't mow the lawn.
Yeah,
So it's not
mowing the
that.
lawn. Washing the dishes. I would say for sure vacuuming or washing the dishes. Because both of which, I think maybe washing the dishes, because I get to stare at you from the side and your butt like sticks out, and I just check out your butt.
You know what? That's
so if
gonna
you
give
ever
me-
like see me like staring at you while you're doing dishes or like that direction, it's because I'm looking at the outline of your butt on the side.
That's going to give me a new perspective because I hate washing the dishes. So I'll be like, hey, I'm turning my husband on. This is okay.
I love it. I think it's awesome.
That's hilarious. Okay, well, these were super fun. So I got these from Dr. John Deloney. You can get them at like RamseySolutions.com.
You didn't even tell me about these.
I know. I wanted to surprise you. They were sitting on the counter and you were like standing at the counter. So I just like slyly grabbed them and stuck them in my pocket so you wouldn't see them.
Huh, interesting.
But if you don't know Rich, he's like,
that was a good tactic.
he's not going to notice things, but I just didn't want him to notice that one. Anyways, okay,
That was
so that
fun.
was a
That
fun
was
way
actually
to
a really
kind of
good
get into
idea.
it.
That was really
We'll
good.
take these home and do more in private.
I like that.
But anyways, okay, so intimacy. Let's just get right into it. That was a good little warm up.
I was.
So intimacy is a fun one
It is.
because
It is.
intimacy is so multifaceted, right?
I
Of
think
course, physical intimacy is where our head goes when we hear that word, but there's so many other facets to it. And it's also so nuanced in that obviously it takes two people. So it's not like something that you can do on your own or fix on your own or whatever. So
100%.
so when we were in the car on the way here, we were kind of talking about how we were going to talk about the podcast. And you
Yeah.
had mentioned 4 different types of intimacy. Do you want to tell us what those types of intimacy were? Because I think they were really good.
So, yeah, I mean, so if I were to break intimacy down, I think the 4 aspects would be number 1 is spiritual intimacy, right? So that would be your faith, whatever you place your faith in. And then also your values as a person. What do you value and what do you believe in terms of a spiritual
Like, where does your moral code
yeah,
come
where
from?
does your moral code come from? So I think that's one of them. And then you also have emotional intimacy, right? So how deeply can you and your spouse connect on an emotional level? Like, are you able to really sit down and tell each other about what's going on and what you truly feel and how things are actually going in the marriage and how things are actually going with the kids and how you're feeling internally in this moment,
And
right?
like, can you be vulnerable? Can you be hurt? Can you share that with your spouse, or do you have to hide for those things?
100%. So that would be emotional intimacy. The third one, we were trying to figure out how to like say this, but I think this is where like your worldviews come in, right? Your beliefs about life, your worldviews, how you choose to operate in the world and view the world, right? And so I don't know what type of intimacy was that, like a, what do we say? Like a perspective intimacy or like a, what was it? Bottom line is it's an intimacy where you and I are on the same page about life, about how we view life and how we want to interact with the world.
Right. Are you going to be a half cup empty?
100%. I mean, a good
Cup half empty or cup half
yeah.
full?
Are you a pessimist and you're living with an optimist? Like, you guys see the world a little bit differently, right? And so that can be interesting when it comes to intimacy. The fourth one is physical intimacy. And the interesting thing about physical intimacy is that, let's just say that you don't have a deep emotional intimacy and maybe you don't have a worldview of intimacy. Like, can you really have a deep physical intimacy? It becomes a question. So I think all three of them ones besides physical intimacy, if you're lacking in those, your physical intimacy might really lack as well. And it's a symptom, not a cause. Like, meaning I don't know what that means. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think those are the four, as I think about it. And so.
Okay. So then for the sake of this podcast, are we predominantly talking about physical intimacy today, or which direction did you want to go with it?
Well, I think physical intimacy is like important. And I mean, I think we can start there for sure. We can start with physical intimacy. Like, so one thing that I'll like, you and I are very into is showing affection.
Yes.
And being
big
affectionate.
Fans of PDA.
Yeah, we're big fans of PDA. And you and I discuss a lot. Like, we're always amazed how many couples we see that don't express any like PDA. They don't maybe hold hands. They don't sit on each other's like lap. They don't like kiss each other. They don't hug each other. Like, and we're pretty open about that. In fact, you can tell this too, but our cousins, our nephews, our nieces, they all know. If Auntie Haley and Uncle Rich come by, you're probably going to see them kiss. You're probably going to see them kind of be a little silly and playful with each other. And that's kind of the normal thing with us. And again, I think it's important.
Yeah.
Because look, if you're into each other and you're pursuing each other and you want and you desire each other, then I think there should be a level of like, you would want to do that. Like, why wouldn't you want to?
And of course, every couple is going to be different in terms of like what they're comfortable with or what they need. Like if we're going to talk about the love languages, right?
Yeah.
Which, that Gary Chapman wrote the book, The 5 Love Languages.
Yeah, 100%.
And my predominant one is physical touch. So that's something that I just like crave and love. And so like sitting in the car and holding your hand, or when you put your arm around me at church, like I love that. But every couple is going to have a different level of what they're comfortable with. But like I grew up, my parents were very, very physically affectionate. And as a kid, you're like, oh, it's so gross, stop, whatever. But you also kind of love it. Like there's a level of security that comes with seeing your parents be physically affectionate. That I think that as much as our kids will do this is so gross, and we're kissing, they'll put their hand in between our mouths, and it's so annoying. But I think there is a level of safety they get from that, knowing that mom and dad love each other. But also, I was talking to my mom about this podcast we were going to do, and we were kind of bouncing ideas off each other.
Yeah.
Which you would think was awkward, but it wasn't.
Tell me what you say.
But she was even saying, the PDA kind of creates a hedge of protection around your marriage, because people know, oh, they're good. You're not going to get anyone kind of trying to weasel their way in between those two people, because it's like, okay, they love each other. You know what I mean? So it's a hedge of protection around your marriage also that I think is really important.
100%.
Kind of a socially acceptable way of staking your claim in a way.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. And again, I don't think there's anything wrong. Like, if you don't do that, maybe that's just not your love language.
Maybe.
And maybe that's not how you show it. But what I can say from experience in our marriage is that those things, I truly feel the more that we're affectionate throughout the day. And it's just like, again, it's another meter to us of where we're at. Yeah.
Well, and they say women are a slow burn, right? So if it's like especially for me, if there's zero interaction all day and then you're trying to like come on to me at night, I'm kind of like, it's harder for me to get there. But if it's kind of been like,
perfect example was last night, by the way.
I'm sorry.
Well, a perfect example was last night with it, like what you're saying. It's harder for you to meaning yesterday I was gone all day.
Yeah, yesterday was a really busy day for you.
I didn't see you all day. I got home later than usual. It was just a busy day. And it was just like, there was definitely, it was kind of like a good night type of thing. It's like, I didn't see you all day. It's like,
Yeah.
And I think that's a perfect example.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So, yeah, I mean, so with that being said, though, what are some things that you think, like when you think of physical intimacy in marriage, like what do you think of? Like what are some practical ways that you feel like couples can ignite that part of their marriage? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I think you have to know your spouse. Like for me, like I said, it's the physical affection throughout the day, holding hand, arm on the leg, or hand on the leg, arm around, whatever, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Now that we know that you love it when I wash dishes, if you come up behind me and kind of kiss my neck when I'm washing dishes, like nothing will rev my engine quicker, right? But you also have to know your spouse. If your spouse isn't that way, but if your spouse sees that you wash the dishes for her so that she could go take a bubble bath, maybe that's really going to get her going. I don't know. You know, like you got to kind of know your partner in that way.
Yep.
But I do think women are a slow burn where it's got to like start earlier in the day.
Yeah, for sure.
And then, okay, so we were talking about this earlier this week. Vanessa and Xander Marin on Instagram.
Yeah. The sex therapist.
Yes. So she is a professional licensed sex therapist and her husband is just a normal guy. But like they have this company together and they've written a book together. They're really, really good. But they talk a lot on their Instagram about this. And oh my gosh, how much detail do I want? Okay. One of their rules is, oh my gosh, everyone who wants a no gets one. That's their rule.
Everybody that wants a no?
An O.
An O. Okay. Gets one. Yeah. An O.
And the reason
which is,
that's
by the way,
important,
that's orgasm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But the reason that that's important, I'll say this, is because I think men need to understand that, like, if you're just kind of a wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, go to bed kind of situation, what is it about that that's going to make her want to come back to that the next time? You know, so if you're having a woman that you're feeling like is not into it, is not initiating, it's like you kind of need to go back to, okay, well, what am I doing that's going to make her want to initiate or want to come back to this situation?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
And you need to make sure that, like, that's happening.
Yeah. 100%. Because we've had periods where we've had periods where that wasn't the case. I mean, right? That wasn't the case. And it was just like, you know, we got done, boom, boom, boom. But to your point, it was just like, I think you even told me one time, like, well, why would I want it? Like,
yeah. And sometimes that's a conversation you have to have. And that, you know, you're newly married, you're trying to figure each other out. It's like, you don't know.
Yeah.
And so that was a conversation we had to have.
Well, it's a good rule. I mean, everybody that wants an O gets one.
Yeah. And that might take more time, more effort, but your partner's your partner. It's the only person you get to do it with. You got to make sure it's enjoyable for everybody.
Yes. I would put a stamp of approval on that.
So Vanessa and Xander Marin, highly, highly recommend for more in-depth help if you need it there.
And you know, like, again, part of it is, so in our marriage, you've been very explicit with me of like letting me know what you like. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, hey, don't shave your chest. Don't shave your beard. Like, you let me know you let me know what turns you on.
Yes.
And you let me know what you like. And so it's very clear for me as a man, if I know this, what to do. Don't take showers. No, but seriously, right?
Yeah.
Like, perfect example. Right now, I'm a little bit bigger. I've been eating a little bit more food. Like, you like me fuller. You like me. You're into that.
Right.
You like when my beard's longer.
And the response is beneficial to both.
And the response is beneficial because it's like, now when you look at me, you're just more into me. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's important in marriage, like communicating that stuff. Like, what are you into? What turns you on? What do you like? You know? And I know that I've told you multiple times, like, like the favorite thing that you wear is like shorts, jean shorts, and a white shirt that's like a,
tank top,
tank top type of thing. When I see in that, it's like super big turn on, right? And I think these points of communication in marriage are like worthy to be had. Mm-hmm. And the more that you guys are on the same page and understand this, the more physical intimacy is just a natural part of the process, you know?
Okay. And so with that, there's two levels of responsibility, right?
Yeah.
Because you have the responsibility to communicate what you like, right? That is your responsibility, and your partner cannot read your mind. You have to communicate that.
Yeah.
Now, the second level of responsibility is if your partner communicates that to you, you need to make an effort to now do that.
Yes.
Right. And so that's where we're going to get a little bit countercultural here because I love to do that.
Yeah.
But we live in the world that's like, hey, it's your body. You could do with it whatever you want. And he just has to love you no matter what. It's like, okay, but you're also going to get what you get with that. Right. Mm-hmm. You have to be willing to say, okay, if my husband likes it when I wear jean shorts and a white tank top, but I really love wearing sundresses, sometimes I'm going to wear jean shorts and a white tank top just to turn my husband on. And that's okay. Or if your wife tells you, hey, I really like your chest hair and you want to go shave it because you think you look more jacked with a shaved chest, well, you're going to reap what you sow there. You know what I mean? So like you
100%.
have a personal responsibility to then respond to what they're telling you.
I agree with that.
And now it's a little bit uncomfortable, but if your partner's telling you like, hey, you've gotten a little chubby, you know, and like, that's kind of hard for me. And like, obviously you need to say that in a really loving way. That's your responsibility. But now the other side of the responsibility is, okay, maybe I need to go to the gym, because it is okay for that to matter. It is okay for physical like visual stimulation to matter. That's okay.
100%.
And we need to take the personal responsibility. Now, if he says, I wish you were black, well, sorry. Like, you married the wrong girl for that. I can't help you there. But when you have something that you can take control of,
100%.
You have to take the responsibility to do that.
I think so. And here's the thing though, like let's just go back to the chubby comment. Like, it's like, okay, you're a little bit chubby, but then you want something different, but then the person saying it's a little bit chubby. And like, they're not taking responsibility for the way they look, but you want somebody else to take responsibility for how they look. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where you can kind of run into issues. Like I think it's poor leadership, right?
Yeah, it can be.
Because in a marriage, like, you would want to do what you want reciprocated, right? So if I want kindness from my wife, I'm going to give my wife kindness, right? Mm-hmm. If I want a communication from my wife, I'm going to communicate with her. If I want my wife to respect me, I'm going to give respect to her. So it's like, it's hard to demand something that you're not willing to demand from yourself.
And that's definitely been true for us, because Richard's always been extremely fit, competes in what is it, physique competitions, and just
I did one, but
whatever. But that's just always been his thing, right? Uh-huh. And there was a season of our marriage where I got chubby, right? I had 4 kids, whatever. It happened. It just happened. And it was never anything that you ever said to me.
Yeah.
But I definitely felt the pressure of, oh my gosh, look at how well he takes care of himself. And I clearly am not doing that.
100%.
And so without you ever even having to say anything, I definitely felt that pressure of, I gotta do better here, because I felt like you deserved more from me.
100%. 100%.
And that's just our thing. Maybe some people, some men maybe like you a little curvy or whatever. You got to deal with your spouse.
You got to do it. Yeah. It's like, what do you like? That's the question, right?
Exactly.
Now, it comes back to what do you like, and communicating that. And there was something I was going to say right now. What the heck was I going to freaking say?
Oh my gosh. You have to have a notepad.
Oh, what I was going to say right now. So we were talking about this, and we were talking about physically being fit. I can't remember.
We were talking about communicating, and then also you have 2 levels of responsibility: to communicate what you like, and then also try to make what your spouse likes happen.
Yeah.
Something with that.
Yeah, 100%. Man, I cannot remember.
No. Okay,
I completely lost it.
Okay, so physically, that was one thing. You have to communicate what you like physically. I love it when you wear a white t-shirt and jeans. I love it when you have chest hair. I love it when you do this. I love it when you do that. Now, I think that same level of communication is also really important in the bedroom, right? When in the actual act, hey, I like this. I don't like this. I like it to be touched here. I don't like to be touched here. Like, you need to communicate those things, because, again, your partner is not a mind reader.
And we have communicated a lot of those things.
Well, yeah.
And it gets rid of the guesswork.
It gets rid of the guesswork, and it just makes the whole act more enjoyable. So you can just sit there having mediocre sex forever because you're not willing to communicate what you like, or just be a little bit vulnerable. So again, you're having that vulnerable intimacy, or the 100%. Emotional intimacy of having to say, hey, I didn't really like this so much, or I really would prefer it like this, or whatever. And so you're having to have that vulnerable conversation that's uncomfortable, because you could get rejected.
But, again, that goes back to emotional intimacy, right?
Right.
So if you lack emotional safety and intimacy, you're not going to have those conversations, which then is going to hurt your physical intimacy.
Right.
And that's how those things kind of come into play. But you can address that by just start. Like, the best thing you can do is just start doing it. Right? What's the worst thing that's going to happen? It's going to feel uncomfortable. You're going to be a little bit like, I don't know how my spouse is going to respond. But slowly but surely, you start building more of that emotional intimacy with each other, which then just pays off with the physical intimacy. Right. But the one thing I want to really talk about too is, like, I think this is so important. I think it's so important. I think the one thing that couples that is so important to prioritize is your energy in marriage, because it's so hard to have this passionate, loving, physical intimacy, sex, relationship if you're just tired all the time. If you're sluggish, you're tired, you have no energy. Dude, you know how it is. Like, we have 4 kids. You're taking care of the kids all day. Your husband's working all day, whatever the ins and outs are.
Is, yeah.
But one thing that is required in all of this is energy. And so I think if you think about it from that standpoint, the reason why I think it's so important with the working out conversation and keeping track of what you put into your body is to manage your energy. Because without it, literally all of life is especially in marriage, hard. It makes communicating hard because communication takes energy. It takes sex is a lot harder because sex takes energy. It take, going throughout life together and dealing with kids and issues, that takes energy. Everything sucks so much energy from you. And so the more that you cultivate, like saying, hey, I prioritize energy in my marriage. Like I'm going to work out because I need more energy. I'm going to eat better because I need more energy. I'm going to guard like my mind because I need more energy. And if like energy alone in marriage, if you can bring more of it, I think it amplifies everything else. And I don't think people talk about it enough or think about it enough, but I think about it a lot. Like, what is the number one reason why we don't have sex at night most nights?
It would be energy.
It's because of energy. It's because we're just tired, But the nights where we're like, we have that energy and it's like, sex is more passionate. We're like more into each other. We're able to communicate better, all because we have more energy.
Yeah. Well, there's also the concept of sexual inertia, right? Which is, so the principle of inertia is object in motion stays in motion, and object at rest stays at rest, right? But that applies sexually. The more often you have sex, the easier it is to have sex the next time.
100%,
But when you stop having sex for a prolonged period of time, it's hard to like even imagine yourself doing it again because it's like you're just not there.
That's a really good point.
And so that's what I've told several women who, maybe struggle with this is, okay, look, I want you to have sex every day for 2 weeks, every day.
Yeah.
And then you'll be surprised at the end of 2 weeks, you actually want it a lot more than you think you do. And I've had people, like friends, tell me, oh my gosh, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. But then as soon as we start doing it, I'm like, oh, I actually do enjoy this. It's just like you forget that you enjoy it for some reason.
Yeah.
So I like, it like, forget energy, forget desire, forget whatever, just do it every night for 2 weeks. Okay.
If you're in a rut, I think that's the perfect, like just freaking do it. Like
just start.
Just get it on. Like Donkey Kong.
Okay. Oh gosh. Okay, so that brings me to another question. And this is advice that kind of gets put out there a lot is scheduling sex. Put it on the calendar. What are your thoughts about that?
We don't do it.
We don't.
Yeah, we don't do it. I know couples that do that. We've had friends that schedule sex. And I even heard of a couple one time. I thought this was kind of a cool idea. Is every time they lit a candle.
Yes, I was going to talk about the candle.
Yeah, they lit a candle. That meant, hey, we're having sex tonight. It didn't matter if the wife did it or the husband did it, but one of them had to light the candle.
And they would do it like as they were putting the kids to bed. One of the spouses would walk by and just light the candle that was in their bedroom. So the other spouse could see the candle and say, okay, that's where I need to get my head at. So it's kind of like, it's like a soft launch almost where it's like, like because rejection's scary and rejection's hard. And so it's like, it's hard to be like, hey, babe, you want to have sex? And she's like, no. It's like, okay, I lit the candle. She saw the candle. There's not like a conversation that has to happen. And everyone could kind of get their head in the right space. And like their rule, that this couple friend of ours that did this, like their rule was like, if the candle was lit, aside from like maybe it being your time of the month and he didn't know, like there's no really saying no. That was their rule.
That was their rule.
That was their rule. And that works for them. And then other couples, like, like I said, they have to put it on the calendar. So then the wife knows, like, okay, I'm looking at the calendar. It's lunchtime. I'm feeding the kids. And I know that, like, okay, that's what's happening tonight. It's on the calendar. And she can kind of get her head right.
100%. Yeah.
So that probably works for some people.
Yeah, it's not our method. I don't have anything against it. I mean,
no, not at all. I think if that works,
I think if that works for you, that works for you. For us, I mean, I don't think we have a method per se, but I just think that we prioritize sex in the relationship, which kind of goes back to, I mean, how many times a week do you think we have sex?
So, okay. I thought that question might come up, and it's a tricky one because I don't think there is like a right or wrong. Like if you're not doing it at least 5 times, then you're not in a good place.
Yeah.
Of course, I don't think that's true. I think obviously the more, the better.
Yeah.
I would say, okay, so are we going to get personal? I would say maybe like what, 4 or 5?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of depends. Yeah, it kind of depends. But yeah, I'd say that in that range, in that realm, depending 3 to 5, maybe. Yeah, depending on what's going on.
Yeah, but but we're also fortunate in that we have pretty equally matched desires.
Yeah.
But so you might have a couple who is like, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine doing it 4 times. Like once is fine. Like whatever works for you.
Yes.
Do that. There's no like need to compare. I think there.
Yeah.
I don't think there's some magic number that if you do it this many times, you're okay.
Yeah, 100%. And here's the thing too. Like I've felt this before, and I think I've caught myself. There's been times where, and I'm hoping this is going to help maybe a husband out there, but there's been times where, you know, I wanted to have sex at night and you just weren't in the mood, right? It was just like, no, it's just not tonight, right? And obviously it's like rejection, right? And it doesn't feel that great. And I've caught myself getting passive aggressive where I'm like, you know what, tomorrow night, I'm not even going to ask. And the next night, I'm not going to ask until she asks me. That is when we're going to do it.
Yeah.
And I've struggled with that. I don't think I struggle nearly as much anymore. But in the beginning of the marriage, like I really struggled with that because I wanted to get passive aggressive. And then I started holding grudges and it all stemmed around just physical intimacy. Like,
and you know what's funny about that is like, I didn't even know. So you're holding this grudge that I don't even know you have.
You didn't even know about it. And I knew it was poisoning myself. But I think it's something that men struggle with.
Okay. So how do you think you overcame that? Or are you still working on overcoming that?
No, I think it's still a thing that you have to overcome. But I'm very cognizant of it. And I stopped taking it as like rejection. I think that's the problem is I was taking it as like
a rejection of you.
Yeah, a rejection of me. And my wife, you know, doesn't care. And she doesn't know how I'm feeling and probably didn't know how I was feeling. But I just started looking at it as like, you know what? I get it. You know, she's tired. Like she had a long day. I just started looking at it from maybe your perspective a little bit more and realizing it wasn't a personal thing against me. Because at first I used to take it as a personal thing against me. It was just like and again, you start tricking yourself into like, she's trying to like get at me. She's trying to like play games with me. She's trying to like do this. And it was just a really negative thing that I started dealing with as a man. Like, and I'm just saying this because I think a lot of men might struggle with this.
That's really important.
And now I don't get into that game. It's like, look, if I ask, if you're not in the mood, like, look, get it, move on next day. I'm not going to hold any grudges. I'm not going to hold any passive aggressiveness. If I want to do it next night, I'm going to ask again. Right. And I'm not going to try to play this game.
Yeah. Okay. So let me tell you, as a woman hearing that from my husband, here's what I think.
Yeah.
What I'm telling myself right now.
Yeah.
Is there's two sides. One of them is, okay, you know, this was probably, I'm assuming, a season where, you know, I was breastfeeding, we had small kids, I was not sleeping at night. So like there is a side of like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. I am so touched out. I just can't imagine. Right.
Yeah, for sure.
And so that's real. And I think husbands need to know that that's real. But then the other side of that is that as a wife, that can't be what you say all the time. Right. Like you need to reserve that for when it's like your mind really just can't handle another thing. And that happens sometimes, or your body just cannot handle another thing.
Yeah.
But that should be very, very few and far between. And so anytime you can say yes, you should say yes.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to say I should say yes as often as I can. So that those times where, oh my gosh, babe, I really don't feel good. You know, I've kind of felt like I had a cold coming all day. I need to go to bed. You can be a little bit more understanding of like, okay, you know, like she never says no to me. So like she must really not be feeling well.
100%.
So I think there's, you know, a responsibility of the husband's side to say, okay, my husband's not feeling, or my wife's not feeling well, or my wife is really tired with the kids or had a lot going on or whatever. Yes. And then the wife has to be responsible for not using that excuse too much to the point that the husband doesn't respect it anymore. Yeah,
100%. Yeah. And, you know, I think an important thing for a lot of men in the bed, like your experience as the girl is what turns the man on. So the better that experience, the more engaged you're in that experience, it's okay. I'll probably just keep it, but the more you're engaged, that's how we get like, you know, turned on about everything, you know? And so, and don't get me wrong, like out of the 3 to 5 times a week, I wouldn't say every time's not like this passionate, like we're all like just super gun ho and just, you know, into it. A lot of times it's just like, man, we got to, you know, let's just kind of get it done type of deal. And that
can be good too.
And that can be good too. But for a man, if that's constant, right? If that's a constant thing, it's just like, well, get it done, just get it done. Like you as a man, like start losing that sense of like, you know, because for a man, in a lot of ways, that's how they bond and they feel better and they feel more manly and they feel more of like, you know, this man in the marriage, you know, and if it's like always where the girl, like the wife's just like kind of a, let's just get it done. Let's just get it done. Like that starts to wear on you. And we've gone through periods like that because again, you had kids, back-to-back kids, breastfeeding, this. It was just like periods of that. And I think that's where you just have to remind yourself of the season. And then also too, to your point, as the woman, just recognize it too. Like, hey, maybe, okay, I'm not into it tonight, but like for my husband, like I know he needs this. Like I know he needs me to be into it tonight. and again, I don't know if you fake it or anything, but like, but trying hard to do that.
Well, it's one of those things that like, you can't fake the like hormone surge that you get, right? Like,
yeah,
so like if you just start doing it before you know it, it's real. You know what I mean? So you just have to start.
yeah, for sure. Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Get
And
the
then
process
eventually
started.
it's like,
See where it goes.
this is actually really fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
You know?
yeah, 100%.
And then, so also culturally, we have this like, of course, consent is important.
Mm-hmm.
Of course. But it's also okay to do it for, it's okay to like not want it, but do it for your spouse anyways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's okay.
100%.
And that's actually probably good. And you actually probably should do that sometimes.
Yeah, 100%.
You know?
I agree. So, you know, one thing I'm thinking about right now is the sound working?
No, not live.
How come?
I think because I got that phone call and something happened.
You can maybe restart it or something.
I'll restart it.
Yeah. Yeah, restart it. We're in the middle of the battle right now. So as Haley is getting that started up,
sorry.
so what was I saying? Oh, okay. Well, like I think one thing too, I don't know if we want to get into this, but there might be marriages where they kind of just feel like that the intimacy in their marriage is kind of like fading. Like it's just not there. And you know, they don't have sex that often. They kind of feel like they're in this funk. They kind of feel like, you know what? I don't even really want sex. And I'm not really kind of really even thinking like that anymore. Maybe not like I used to think. And so like, what would you say? I think I know your advice would just be like, just do it. Like just start today. Like just, even though you don't feel like it, just do it anyways.
And honestly, especially if it's new, if you feel like you wanted it before and now you're just kind of gotten into this place where you haven't done it so long and you don't really want it anymore, like there might even be something physical. Like you might need to go get your hormones checked.
That's a good point.
You know, like that's not normal. Human beings are like, we desire sex. We're animals, right? Our dogs do it with their, you know, like
Yeah.
we're supposed to want it. So if you just find yourself not wanting it, you might need to go get your hormones checked. Like there might be an actual answer for you.
Yeah.
And you're not just destined to never want your husband again.
Hormones checked. And guess what? Like take
Just
a look
do
at
it.
your body too. Your body
Right.
and what are you feeding yourself?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like maybe even start there.
Probably.
And if that's not where you think it needs to be, let's start there. And then, because you'd be amazed, like we've talked about this all the time, but like the food you eat affects your hormones. I mean, it's just, I mean, this is science.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like just us saying it. It's like what you eat is what you become. You know what I'm saying? So maybe start there. And then from there, like you actually just got recently checked. You went to a female hormone specialist and they checked all your numbers and you kind of realized that estrogen was maybe a little bit lower or.
No, my testosterone was a little
Oh
low.
yeah. Your testosterone's a little low. So then she put you on a plan to start upping that and everything. And so like, you're doing it. You're literally doing it. And it's not necessarily because I don't think you were feeling like sexually, not there, right? It was more so what about maybe energy or is that what, yeah, it was more energy throughout the day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Yeah. But that would be,
take care of it.
that would be my,
Yeah. Is that Instagram?
it said poor connection or something. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
But yes, that would be where I would start is A, just do it. And
Yeah.
then B, maybe go see a doctor. Especially if it's new. If you've been a person who's never really had a high sex drive, like, I don't really know. But if you used to and now don't, I would say maybe there's a medical problem.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Where else would you want to take it?
Oh my gosh.
A million different places. Huh?
There really is. And it's such a touchy subject because it's so important, but it's also so vulnerable.
It's very
So
vulnerable.
it's a hard topic for a lot of people. And I get that.
Yeah. I mean, it is tricky because we'll go through periods where like there is a lack of it for a while. And then we just like, you know, and then we get back. Again, sometimes it's cyclical. It can
Yeah.
be cyclical, you know? And yeah, I mean, you get into these life funks, you know?
Yeah.
So, but I do think that at the end of the day, It's important
Mm-hmm.
and it needs to happen. And if it's not happening, it's going to affect all the other areas of your marriage. I mean, I can't tell you how many times we just had sex and we're like, oh, everything's back to normal.
Yeah.
You know, we're in this
Yeah.
funk. We have sex. It's like, dude, we're good. Next day we wake up, we're high-fiving each other. We're hugging each other.
Yeah.
We're
my
all
gosh.
like, the next day is just a totally different day. Like,
Yeah.
everything's fine.
Well, I think we
Don't worry
talked about that a little bit last week, but like you just said, there can come times where I'm just like kind of easily annoyed and irritated and everything kind of bugs me.
Yes.
And then we'll have sex and I'm like, oh, okay, now I'm good. Like maybe everything's not so horrible. Maybe that was it, you know? And it's amazing. I'll laugh at myself how often that happens.
Yeah, of course. Like, you know, maybe in the morning we don't kiss each other or whatever, like we normally always do. And then, you know, maybe there's a couple of days like that where it just kind of feels a little off. And then we have sex and all of a sudden we're just, you know, we're kissing each other, we're hugging, we're holding hands, we're sitting by the thing, having coffee and just laughing and stuff. And so it's just so important. And sometimes, to your point, you just got to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And and then you can get fun with it, man. I think it's okay to get as fun as you'd like to get with it.
Okay. So that's okay. I know we're kind of getting to the end here, but let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
Is the freedom that we have in marriage, right? I think that especially like growing up in the 90s, early 2000s, like purity culture was really, really big in the church, right?
Yeah.
And I think that we can put a lot of rules on ourselves of like what's okay.
Well, yeah, what's permissible.
What's permissible.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think most of that, as long as you have two consensual adults, monogamous, obviously married. Right? That's our belief.
Mm-hmm.
A male and a female married, and it remains monogamous.
Yeah,
pretty much fair game.
Yeah, that's what we think.
And I think that any other rules you want to put on yourself, if you want to live by that, fine. But you have to realize that you're putting that on yourself. That it's not biblical or holy. That is you.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so much freedom there.
So I think, and I think maybe for some people listening to that, like free yourself of that, if that is you.
Yeah.
You know, like just free yourself of it. Just let it go. Like there's freedom in that.
Yeah. Go buy a maid's costume and see what you can do.
Right? Yeah.
Why not?
Don't put yourself in this box. And we started the whole marriage podcast in that. Like there's no box in marriage, right? Like besides the normal stuff, obviously,
monogamous.
Monogamous and everything that's like normal to marriage. But besides that, you create the rules.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think there's a lot of freedom in marriage and intimacy to be had that if you just start thinking outside the box a little bit and not be trapped in this one way of thinking, that you can maybe see, wow, there's a lot of the other stuff we can start kind of exploring and stuff.
And John Deloney calls it vanilla married sex. And vanilla married sex is awesome. Huge fan. Yeah. But you can also have red hot monogamy. Like you can have that too. Like, there's room for both.
Yeah.
And you should enjoy all of it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Anything else you wanted to add there?
No, I mean, dude, the other areas of intimacy, that might just be like a whole nother podcast. Because I do think those all affect physical intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the big takeaways from this podcast are.
Sum it up for us.
Well, I mean, big takeaway that I got was if you're not being intimate right now with your husband, you feel like that's fading. You feel like I like your thing. Hey, we're going to do it for the next 2 weeks. Just
every day.
We're doing it. Like whether we feel like it, whether we don't. And to your point, guess what's going to probably happen? You're like, wow, we did it 3 times in a row. I want to do it again. And now it just starts coming back. You get back into the rhythm. So I think that's one big takeaway is like, if you're out of it, just start doing it.
The caveat, the way that happens, that you want to do it more, is if it's fulfilling for both people.
Yes. Everybody that wants an O
gets one.
Gets an O. I think that's another big takeaway.
It is. It's like an awkward one, but it needs to be said.
Yeah. The third big one is express what you like. Express what you want. Express what turns you on. Whether that's in the bedroom, whether that's just everyday life, Whether that's like you like your husband to wear X, you like your wife to do Y, you like it, whatever that might be, communicate that. And that'll build also emotional intimacy, which, that's important. And then,
and I would say another important thing was take responsibility for A, what you communicate, and then B, how you respond with what's communicated to you. There's the
double-sided thing.
The cyclical.
Yeah. How you communicate and how you respond to the communication from the other one. Yeah. Be sensitive to that. And then also too, I would say the other one is look, if you feel like you're in a box right now in your marriage, like if you feel like, hey, there's only one way to do intimacy, there's only one way that we can have sex or whatever that might be, maybe expand that horizon a little bit.
Just step out of that box.
Step out of that box.
You made it yourself.
You made it yourself, pursue that. And then what's the last thing you'd say, or a couple things?
I think that summed it up pretty good. Are you forgetting anything?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Don't use sex as a weapon.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
We almost forgot about that.
Almost forgot
Look, we're
that
about
one.
to let you off the hook.
Well, the live's already done. But don't use sex as a weapon. That is so incredibly important.
Yes.
Especially for women. I don't think men really do it as much.
No, I think they do. I know again, right? If I get rejected, I can start using it as like, I'm not going to ask her next time and I'm not going to wait. I'm going to wait until she pursues me. So you start using it like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So to me, that's like almost using more of initiation as a weapon. I'm not going to initiate anymore until you do or whatever.
Yes. 100%. Or you can even start saying, I'm not going to hold their hand. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to, it's like you start playing those games.
Yeah. But I think women can get this like, if you don't do this for me, then I'm not going to have sex with you. And like, I've literally had supposedly wise older women tell me like, hey, you have this thing in your corner that you can use to get him to do what you want. And whatever the scenario was, like, you have this thing, like you should use it. I'm like, excuse me. It absolutely never sat with me. I think it's gross.
Yeah.
I just think that's crazy. Don't do that. Women, do not do that.
Yeah.
Be as, like, you have to be a soft, warm, gentle place for your husband. It is not your job to strong arm your husband into anything, and you'll lose.
100%.
Be a soft, gentle, warm place for him. And that's what sex should be for your husband, not coercion.
That's manipulation.
Oh, it's gross.
Yeah.
Gross.
And that'll cause just more frustration in your marriage,
And honestly, it's just so wrong.
Yeah.
It's so wrong. Yeah, that's a hill I'll die on.
Tell us how you really feel.
Oh, I hate it. I really hate it. I even think back to these women I can think of one particular woman who gave me that advice, and it just still makes me mad.
You're like, why would you say that?
It still makes me mad.
Yeah. Well, there you go, folks.
So don't do that.
Don't do that. We almost forgot that one.
That would not be a good one to forget.
Yeah, that'd be good. So,
all right.
What are your thoughts?
That was good.
Come back for the next episode. Anything? So what? Share it, like it.
Yes.
Give some love.
What did they say? Subscribe.
What's
follow.
the tagline is building a marriage that you want to come home to.
Do you love coming home to?
Building a marriage that you love coming home to. So if you know other couples that want to build a marriage that they love coming home to, this is where you would share the podcast with them.
Yes.
That'd be awesome.
And home is not your house. Home is your spouse. Oh, that was so good.
Home is not your house. It's your spouse. And it freaking rhymes.
And that was good. Oh, I didn't even plan that. But home is not a building. Home is your family.
Yeah.
Home is your people.
Yeah.
Build them.
Yep. Boom. Hot drop.
Boom.
Good podcast.
That was good. Thank you, babe.
All right. Love you.
Love you.